Tuesday, November 11th, Bitcoin at 102,766. MSTR closed at 231.35. I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. How about the bad news first? We're trying to get the McRib. We keep hearing rumors online.
I hear it's supposed to be now, but I don't know sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Whenever it's back, we'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day. Now, in case you hadn't seen this chart already, basically what you need to know is that Bitcoin doesn't care about technical analysis, doesn't care about adoption, doesn't care about treasury companies piling money in, or whatever the next narrative is, the hash rate of the network. Bitcoin only rallies when the McRib returns at McDonald's. So I went on site to investigate, honestly, for the second time in I think 2 months. And for the second time, we hear rumors online about the return of the McRib. Well, not at my local McDonald's, and I live near a pretty busy one. So I don't know, guys. The McRib, as of today, November 11th, is not back. That is bearish news. Moving on, that was the bad news. Now the good news. I want to talk about MSTR. I want to talk about clues as to when the downtrend will resolve and the upside move will begin. So I'm going to share some clues with you in this video. I know it's sacrilegious to talk about the bull case when we're in a downtrend, but at least there's still a few of you guys left. I know a lot of people capitulated last week, which, by the way, is signs of the bottom, right? Bearish sentiment all over Twitter. Signs of the bottom. That's not technical, right? So we're going to get into the technicals, but I'm just saying, if you guys remember how loud the bulls were up here, that's basically we're getting the inverse of that down here, is my opinion. Okay, let's look at some signals of when we're going to break out. I want to open up the 200-day rate of change, guys. The 200-day rate of change. Now, if you've never heard of this metric, I would just challenge you, jump into TradingView, create a free account, go to indicators, add rate of change, and then change the interval to 200. That's all you have to do. And then look at the daily time frame. What you'll notice, because otherwise you're just going to have to take me at my word, is that when trends break, it is a signal to the upside and the downside. Well, we've had this downtrend being established, going back, not actually to the June top, but if you actually look at how it's lined up, going back to July top is what I meant to say. It actually started in June. Okay, this has been building for almost 5 months. And when it breaks, there's going to be a sharp move to the upside. By the way, sometimes you get a break and then a back test. So that's also possible, but it's going to resolve to the upside. I mean, not financial advice, by the way. I'm not a financial advisor. I own Bitcoin, I own MSTR. All I'm trying to share is that that is one signal that we can look forward to. Currently, we're right on the resistance, okay? So it may break as soon as this week. I don't favor it happening this week. We have the monthly options expiration. I always favor it happening the week, the next week. Basically, it could be as soon as Monday, November 17th. We start seeing a move to the upside. But this is a signal that you can bank on. And again, you either take me at my word or go and back test it yourself on any stock. It's not unique to MicroStrategy. It works on any asset, any equity. I've never seen it not work. Okay. So I would just challenge you guys, go check that out. But that is a big signal, 5 months in the making. The next signal I want to talk about is the significance of this white decline channel. Since MSTR became a Bitcoin treasury, that exact decline line, okay, of that white decline channel has been in play. It goes back all the way to 2020, 2021. I've actually got a separate chart where I've shown it. Okay. You can see it right there. Same exact angle, even though the width of the channels may change. You can see that the angle of decline does not. Now, I'm focusing specifically on this channel that we've been in for the last year, but I actually have a separate view too where I can show you that, well, since Q1 of 2024, this exact width of this channel has been in play where you can just copy paste it, right? It gave you the signal to buy here, but you wouldn't have known then because that was the initial establishing of this channel at this width. But it gave you basically the 50 line. It gave you the rejection of the next line. It gave you the eventual breakout, 50 line again. And then it actually moved 3 units to the 50 of the next one. Okay, and then so we basically spent, by the way, September we entered, November we exited. So October, November, we spent 2 months here. Guys, we've spent 12 months in this one, 12 months consolidating. When we move up and out of it, it's going to be explosive. All right, and I think it will coincide with the next indicator that I'm going to show you. Okay, I think it's going to coincide with the next indicator that I'm going to show you. But for what it's worth, on the 200-day rate of change, we're right up against that resistance. So we may reject and go lower. We may start a breakout. Again, I think it would be as soon as next week, by the way. I don't think it would be this week. But we have quite a bit of time here to wait. We have a gap. Okay, Like if we were to break through tomorrow, we would have to break up through $320 tomorrow. We'd have to gain 100 points tomorrow. That's not happening, right? But if MSTR starts to reverse course, like the way that okay, let's just draw a kind of a realistic line. This puts us at Tuesday, December 9th, breaking through $292, $290. All right, if we were to do that you see right there. So hopefully this can kind of inform your bias. By the way, that's to start this breakout. The move between where we are and that breakout line, this is not a move that I'm looking to get creative and get aggressive trying to monetize. Outside of holding MSTR common shares and not MSTU or MSTX, this move, I'm being disciplined because it's a bearish context no matter how you spin it, right? Even if it does reverse higher, we're talking about going from 230 to 290. That's big, right? But it's the context, right? If you're watching these videos, I'm assuming it's because you're getting something out of them. Otherwise, like you could just stare at the number on a screen as it flashes red, and then flashes green, and then flashes red and flashes green, and it's arbitrary and it tells you nothing, right? Unless you memorized what it was trading at the day before and the week before and the month before, right? These charts tell a different story, guys. And there's definitely clues. Hopefully you see it. I'm assuming you do. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be here. The next clue I want to share. Weekly time frame, guys. RSI. Check this out. Those orange lines correspond to breakouts of weekly RSI downtrends that I illustrated here with those white lines, okay? There's only been 3 since MSTR became a Bitcoin treasury in 2020. So that's 5.5 years. 3 times this buying signal has fired. And as a reminder, so let's look at the COVID one first, okay? You got the buy signal on July 20th. If you bought there, guys, you bought that RSI breakout on a high time frame, you made, and I didn't measure that perfectly. I'm actually re-recording this because my mic was muted. So I talked for like 15 minutes and I was like, oops, got to redo it. All right, you made basically 1,000% in 30 weeks. That's like an 11x of your money in 30 weeks. And that was the only analog we have for holding MSTR common shares during a Bitcoin breakout on the log chart, where you get the multiple returns, where it runs for 6, 7, 8 months, sometimes up to a year, and you see it go 3x, 4x, etc., right? And we're knocking on the door of that happening again if it can get above about 128,000 right now, which I know now it seems kind of far away, but like we were basically there earlier this year, you know, it ended up being a fake out. Okay, so then the top was put in on the RSI, 8 February 2021. You had to sit through this downtrend. The buy signal fired again on June 27th, 2022. So over a year later. Now, if you bought that, even though it was in bearish context, if you bought that signal, guys, MSTR went up 126% in 5 weeks. Under the 200-day moving average. It went 2.25x in 5 weeks. So that's why it's not financial advice and whatever, but like it kills me when people capitulate on a day like last week on Friday. It's like, guys, like if you want to sell your shares, why would you do it on like the 6th red weekly bar in a row? Like if you're bearish, you're going to get a relief rally. Nothing goes down in a straight line forever. Not financial advice. I truly don't care what you do, but like, man, if you know what I mean? And I'm assuming if those people sold, they're not watching this video, but like, yeah, you're going to get a better time to let go of those shares than basically at the, 24-year channel support, basically is what people did when they sold. So the next weekly RSI top was put in on 11 March 2024, and the downtrend broke in September of 2024. So you actually had like a pretty significant resetting of the weekly RSI. What's interesting is price was pretty flat. Like, are you guys seeing this from top to bottom? Oh, I guess price was, okay, it's a log chart, so it looked kind of flat, but price went down as much as like 48%. You guys see what I'm referring to, right? It looks like basically a flat channel, but the log chart has a way of kind of distorting things. But if you bought that break of the downtrend, you essentially were rewarded in 10 weeks, 362% returns, a 4.6x return just by buying that breakout, guys. And hopefully you're noticing it's not just about the returns that you get on the way up, but the downtrends that ensue set up the next big move to the upside. Like hopefully you get, right? Am I doing a decent job illustrating this? You get the downtrend that leads to the uptrend. Downtrend leads to the uptrend. Downtrend, uptrend, downtrend. So the downtrend that we're sitting through right now, it sucks. Maybe it doesn't suck if you're not holding. It's all good. But if you want to re-enter, just wait. You're going to have signs where you can enter a position in bullish context. If you want to go leveraged long, just wait. That's all I would say. I mean, it's not financial advice, right? I'm not a financial advisor, but I sure know what I'm personally doing. Like, there's no need for me to get overly aggressive down here when we can buy back slightly higher in significantly more bullish context, right? And we have hints as to when this comes. So this downtrend started in mid-November 2024. We're here 1 year later. Okay, 1 year later, we are down here. And at some point, my guess is in the next month. Okay, like if it does something like that, like let's see where it intersects. Basically mid-December, you know, just by me kind of eyeballing that and just drawing kind of a random line. So that's not anything technical, just me kind of guessing. You know, if I do something like that, mid-December is when you get the buy signal. And if we're being realistic, it's probably not going to go straight vertical like that. It's probably going to be something more, you know, reasonable. And again, it's going to start with, I would guess, a breakthrough on the 200-day rate of change right there, because we're already up against it. Then you're waiting for that gap to close where price action breaks through this white channel. And by the way, when it does that, I personally expect it to, you guys want to do this exercise with me? Let's extend out the 200-day moving average. It's going to probably break through, tag it, most likely back test. This is where I want to go irresponsibly long. Right there. The back test may not come though. You got to be disciplined. But if you get that chance right there, to me, that's the trigger to go irresponsibly long. And by the way, if you're like, how the heck am I going to track this? Well, I do have my MSTR group where I do daily videos, pre-market, talk about these strategies, positioning, etc., context, linked below if you're interested, because that's what comes next. I'm guessing we most likely reject off the 200-day. One last trigger, guys, the log chart. If I zoom out, you see these white decline lines? Those have marked the buy signal on the log chart and led to massive gains. They're very similar to buying these weekly RSI, high time frame breakouts, but not exactly the same. And essentially, we're going to have a signal here as well. And it's not the exact same as the linear decline lines that I have on this chart. I know if I'm jumping around a lot, it's probably hard to track, but this is a linear chart. This is a log chart, okay? Basically, this week, the breakout level is 337. Next week, it's at about 334, okay? So we are still a ways away from breaking out on the log chart. There's signals embedded everywhere in these charts is all I'm really trying to say, guys. And it sucks to be in a downtrend. But again, if I showed you anything, it's that hopefully that you see that the downtrends lead to explosive moves to the upside, ... when they break. That is also a critical component, when they break. Let's wrap up with Bitcoin. Just a reminder, when gold topped in 2020, money rotated into Bitcoin starting 9 weeks later. I think gold topped in like October 10th, I think, of 2025. So it's been a month. We probably need to wait another month. And what does that coincide with? Mid-December. Again, do you notice how it's all kind of syncing up? Maybe not this chart, but definitely I would say this gap that we talked about and this gap that we talked about. And you could even say this gap that we talked about kind of syncing up with that 8 to 9 weeks after gold tops, mid-December again. Just saying, it would make sense. All right, a couple tweets that I wanted to share. This is the gold chart. I don't know why it's like potato quality, but the gold chart with a 90-day lag. If the correlation is to hold, Bitcoin will start to go vertical later this week, which doesn't really coincide with that mid-December thing, but they have a way of tricking us with these correlations, especially as soon as people talk about it on Twitter. Not that that's anything technical again. I mean, if the correlation held and Bitcoin rocketed higher next week, that would be amazing. I'm all for that. But we already said the McRib's not back. So, I mean, without the McRib back, how could Bitcoin ever go higher? This is talking about like basically the business cycle, the ISM, the correlation between Bitcoin's explosive moves higher and the ISM. Basically what I wanted to share is that, so this guy analyzed a full data set of the PMI from 1948 to today, found that we're currently in the longest running contraction defined by a PMI under 50 in the index's history. Again, to me, just telling me that we're going to see a log chart breakout, an explosive move higher in Bitcoin where it moves multiples higher. I know people are like, oh, then it goes to 140 or 180. It's like, guys, if you've seen the Bitcoin on the log chart, my log chart here, what it tells you is that if you think it's doing anything less than a triple up, you're saying this time will be different, and that's accounting for diminishing returns. So all I'm saying is this time will be the same and it's going to at least triple. I favor it going to 350. Like that's my realistic target for Bitcoin. if and when it breaks out on the log chart, which means it needs to get above like 128K right now. Here's another one. It says Bitcoin's going to rally to at least 145,000 from here. There's a 99% chance it will find at least its local bottom in the next 5 days. I also kind of echo that sentiment if I was to bring it back to my Bitcoin chart really quickly. It's something I shared in the last video, but I just wanted to share it one more time. These yellow arrows show that Bitcoin bounces off the bottom of the bull flag. Okay, that's great. But what it also shows, if I go to the weekly time frame, is I don't have too many moving averages on my charts. The white line is the 21 weekly EMA. When it crosses down through the 200 daily moving average, which is the blue line, the bottom is put in Bitcoin the next week. Okay, that's true right here. It's true right here as well. Week 2, bottom's put in. Also, both coincided with the bottom of the flag. Now, where we are today, and these patterns don't always have to be the exact same, but we crossed last week. So in my mind, the bottom would most likely, if the pattern holds, be put in this week, and it would take us down to the bottom of the bull flag at about 97,700. Okay, and I'm not trying to wish that Bitcoin sells off, but I'm just saying, if you can detect patterns, it would not surprise me if we saw that. And then if we do see that, MSTR price target of 213, I talked about it in my last video, how that would be a very nice, clean, high time frame macro pivot. Well, I'm guessing it would coincide with Bitcoin at 97.7. Just saying. Okay, what else? Market Maestro here. I'll link to all these tweets, by the way, in the description in case you want to check them out. He's expecting a larger sell-off in Bitcoin. Looks like to the lower 90,000s, just based on historical patterns. James Van Straten says, once the government shutdown ends, it does not immediately mean liquidity pours in. The last government shutdown finished on 25 January 2019. Bitcoin was 3,500. It took until February 8th to put in a new high 2 weeks later, ultimately saw 7 green weekly candles. So that's a small sample. A lot of this Bitcoin stuff, guys, small samples, but worth sharing. And then Colin Talks Crypto, basically just talking about the monthly MACD crossing over into red territory on Bitcoin. He backtested it and showed that actually this could just be a subtop and the actual top could basically be in the future. And again, these things don't have to be exact sciences. It's also worth noting that like the subtop here looks like it came in where it looks like it came in at like what 15,000, and then the actual top ended up being all the way up here at 69,000. So the subtop can come in significantly lower, multiples lower than the actual top. So the fact that we crossed down in the MACD monthly time frame, high time frame, I mean, I'm not trying to discount it, but basically this has been consistent with the 2020 breakout and the 2013 breakout. If you're irresponsibly long MSTR like I am, how much would it be worth to you to have somebody who's in the charts daily looking for the perfect entry for shares and options and eventually looking to see if we might have topped and it's time to take profits? If this is something that interests you, I want to invite you to check out my MSTR Generational Wealth community linked below.